Welcome to part 8 of Justin Baldoni's October 7th deposition. Shapiro, I just want to note for the record that we have now been going for 13 hours and 35 minutes with Mr. Baldoni. We took a break that was supposed to be 15 minutes. It has now been almost half an hour, and we are all very tired. The witness is extremely tired, and this is unacceptable. Gottlieb noted. Did you record the January 4th, 2024 meeting? Can you ask that one more time? Did you record the January 4th, 2024 meeting that happened in Miss Lively's apartment? No. Did Mr. Heath? I'm unaware of any such recording. Are you aware of anyone on your team having recorded that meeting? Mr. Heath is the only person on my team that was at that meeting. Okay. So I guess to answer your question, no. Gottlieb, this is Exhibit 39. This is a document that was Exhibit 18 from yesterday, and what we were searching for before we went back on the record here. Exhibit 39 marked for identification. Justin, okay. Gottlieb, and so you testified about this exhibit yesterday. We've marked it as Exhibit 39 for everyone's convenience because we don't have the exhibits from yesterday here with us. So Exhibit 39 is a text chain that you testified about yesterday between you, Miss Nathan, Miss Abel, the three of you on August 15th, 2024. Do you recall testifying about this text chain yesterday? I believe I do. And in this text chain on the 15th of August, you were talking about how Mr. Sarowitz had asked you about, as read, flipping the narrative from this leak, this AM about Ryan saying script was a disaster and he saved the movie. Do you see that? If it's okay, I know I testified yesterday, but I'm just going to read it very quickly so then I can answer all your questions. Okay, thank you. Exhibit 18 from yesterday and Exhibit 39 from today is an exchange on the 15th of August between you, Miss Nathan, and Miss Abel. Yes? And you talked about something Mr. Sarowitz had said to you earlier about, as read, flipping the narrative from the leak this AM about Ryan saying the script was a disaster and he saved the movie. Yes. And I think you testified that you were unsure what the basis of the belief that Ryan had said the script was a disaster and saved the movie was. Is that right? What I'm saying here, if I read my words, is from this leak this AM, so some sort of leak that morning, so an article. Do you know whether Mr. Reynolds himself ever had said publicly that the script was a disaster and that he saved the movie? I don't think I could know. Do you know whether he's ever said that privately? I don't think I could know that. So you don't know whether the statement attributed to Mr. Reynolds was actually made by him at any point in time. I don't think it's possible that I could know that. Do you know the point in time at which Mr. Reynolds was alleging to have worked on or saved the script, according to what you were responding to here? Shapiro, objection. Justin, what I know is that during the premiere, Miss Lively, for some reason, offered up the fact that her husband wrote what is arguably one of the top 5 most important scenes in the film. And I believe this appeared to be PR that was trying to justify or calm the backlash that was caused by Miss Lively's own words. Gottlieb, and in response to that, you suggest on the next page over at 2 o'clock, page marked 15408 as read, the fact that they saved the script from what they think is a disaster after we had a greenlit script and was a strike basically implies they were scabs. Do you see that? Yes. And you said, as read, which we should 100% lead them to. Do you see that? I do. You were writing during the strike, were you not? I was. So you were a scab? I would have no problem being called a scab. And what you wanted to do was lead reporters to the fact that in response to this source statement, what they really should be printing is that Mr. Reynolds and Miss Lively were scabs. Shapiro, objection. Justin, no. Gottlieb, knowing that you had written during the strike? Shapiro, objection. Justin, I'm sorry, I just said no. Gottlieb, I'm going to ask my questions. Is that a different question? Shapiro, please. Gottlieb, you've answered no. Shapiro, counsel. Gottlieb, and the next question is, you knew you had written during the strike, correct? Yes. And you knew that Wayfair had asked people who are comfortable to come to work during the strike, is that right? Like every other production, correct. Did you want reporters to know that? I was not hiding that. Is being called a scab a positive or negative implication in your view? I'm not sure I can answer that. But you wanted reporters to go in that direction, right? Shapiro, objection. Justin, what I believe I was doing was passing on a message from my partner Steve, who relayed to me after reading a story that appeared to be in response from something Miss Lively said on her own. She was not even asked about whether or not her husband wrote a scene. And then because of that, received a lot of negative backlash, as did Mr. Reynolds, because why would Mr. Reynolds be a WGA writer writing a scene in someone's movie that he's not credited for? And so Steve, seeing Mr. Reynolds' apparent leak that the script was a disaster, which seemed like he was trying to save his own image in that moment, asked me to pass on to Melissa and Jen that an idea could be presented which would be flipping this narrative that our movie was a disaster to begin with. And this, again, was a purely defensive conversation. There was an offensive move done to say that our script was originally a disaster, and we were implying that this could happen. We did not say, go do it. I don't, unless you have something where I did. Gottlieb, you characterize these as offensive and defensive, yet you have admitted that you have absolutely no idea whether Mr. Reynolds ever said that the movie was a disaster that he saved. Shapiro, objection. Justin, untrue. I do know he said that. Gottlieb, you know that he said that the movie was a disaster that he saved? Yes. Okay, and you know that how? He said it at the January 4th meeting in person to my face. And did he say that in public any time that you've ever heard him say that? I found it odd that something he said to me in a very angry, aggressive tone at a meeting in front of my partners and my best friends somehow ended up magically in the press during a time when there was supposed to be a truce as soon as his wife, Mrs. Lively, made him look really bad on her own. It's awfully convenient that you remember that right now, isn't it, Mr. Baldoni? Shapiro, objection. Justin, you did bring up a lot of things for me to remember over this. And Gottlieb, did you? Yes, I did remember just now. Did you ever communicate in writing to anyone at any time about the January 4th meeting that Mr. Reynolds said that? Shapiro, objection. Justin, there was a lot of things Mr. Reynolds said that I never shared with anybody outside of my wife, as it was extremely humiliating, embarrassing, and traumatic to me. Gottlieb, do you recall when you learned that Mr. Reynolds had blocked or unfollowed you on social media? Are you looking for the exact date? Because I do not have that. Estimate. No, I remember the feeling. Do you remember what month it was in? July or August, I'm assuming? If I told you that you learned about it in May of 2024, would that surprise you? Shapiro, objection. Justin, it wouldn't surprise me. The entire time period is a big mess. Gottlieb, do you recall ever sending content to your digital team to boost or amplify? Yeah, I do. Do you know how the digital team? Who is the digital team? I have no idea. I knew there was a digital team. I assumed it was the people that we had hired from Tag. Do you know what it meant? Did you understand what it meant for them to boost or amplify content you were sending to them? Technically, no, but I remember at the time assuming that it meant what the word boost is. Like if I'm going to give my son a boost, I'm going to help him up. So to boost. But as you sit here today, you don't have an understanding of how the team went about boosting or amplifying the content you sent for them to boost. I don't. Do you have any recollection as you sit here today about the number of pieces of content you sent through to the digital team while they were engaged to boost or amplify? Shapiro, objection. Justin, I don't. Gottlieb, do you believe that the digital team you retained didn't do any actual work? Shapiro, objection. Justin, do I believe they didn't actually boost or amplify? I have no idea. Gottlieb, you don't know what they did? I have no idea if they actually did what or boosted what we asked them to boost. Do you know how much Wayfarer Studios ultimately paid Street Relations for its work? I don't. Would it surprise you to learn that Wayfarer Studios paid Street Relations approximately $100,000 for its work? Glover, objection, form. Shapiro, objection. Justin, I don't think that would surprise me. Gottlieb, do you think Mr. Heath would spend $100,000 of Wayfarer's money paying a vendor that did nothing? Shapiro, objection. Glover, objection, form. Justin, I can't speculate as to what Mr. Heath would do or would not do with $100,000. Gottlieb, what was your share of the profits derived from the film It Ends With Us? I believe I had a back-end deal of around, I don't know, all the plus minus costs, all the stuff, but I think the number was around 10%. Do you know how much in total compensation roughly you received in all forms of payment from the film It Ends With Us? To date, I don't know. Do you have any estimate of the amount? To date, I would guess somewhere between 3 and 5 million. Do you think your total share of compensation, well, let me put it this way. Were you paid as a director a fee or an amount? Yes. Were you paid as an actor a fee or amount? Very small amount, yes. And then you had some share of profits in an agreement that was with Wayfarer Studios or It Ends With Us Movie LLC. I don't have a share of profits that I'm aware of based on any agreement. What do you have a share of profits based on? Shapiro, objection. Justin, to my knowledge, I have ownership stake in the entire company. Gottlieb, and so the amount of money that you have made off the film is derived from a combination of what you were paid as a director, what you were paid as an actor, and your ownership interest in the company. False. Please correct me. I do not pay myself for my ownership interest in the company. You are entitled to a share of profits from the company, but you've elected not to take it. Is that what you're saying? Mr. Sarwitz and I have a different agreement than that. What is your different agreement with Mr. Sarwitz? That I do not take, or we do not take, any percentage that isn't, the studio hasn't returned a profit. So taking from anything that is not profitable would be taking from the studio. So while the success of the film is amazing and the studio did make money, Mr. Sarwitz has invested, to my knowledge, over 100 million, and that's nowhere near the amount of profit we made on It Ends With Us. So I have not taken, nor will I take any share of that. Is there documentation that memorializes what you just said to me? I don't believe so. Is there documentation that would show the payments that you have received, or if any derived from the film of It Ends With Us? Of course. Have you produced those to us? My lawyers have everything that would need to be produced, so I would assume that if that was something that would need to be produced, that they would produce it. Do you recall telling us in an interrogatory response that you have first anticipated litigation about It Ends With Us in August of 2024? I don't remember it, but I'm assuming that's correct. Did you understand after that point in time that you were required to preserve all documents concerning the litigation that you anticipated? No. When did you understand that? I believe this last week. This last week is the first time you understood that you were required to preserve documents in this case? Yes, but I preserved them anyways. What steps did you take to preserve your documents, if any, in August of 2024? By not deleting anything? Okay, so you didn't delete anything. Did you have any understanding of the retention policies that existed on your email account? Can you be more specific? Do you have any knowledge as you sit here today, one way or the other, whether email accounts that you use have retention policies on them? Shapiro, objection. Justin, retention meaning like they stay or they don't stay? Gottlieb, they stay or they get deleted after a period of time. I always have on all my emails that they never delete. Do you use a Wayfair Studios email address? That's one of my emails, yes. And do you know for a fact that the email account, the retention policy, is set to never delete? I believe I intentionally make sure that it never deletes because I always go back and look for emails. Did you talk to somebody at Wayfair Studios about setting that policy for your email? I believe I did. All Gmail, all personal emails, everything, nothing deletes. How about WhatsApp? I have all my WhatsApps. They don't delete. You don't have any chains in WhatsApp that have an auto-delete timer on them? I don't think I was aware that WhatsApp had that function. How about Signal? Signal, what about it? Are all your chats in Signal set to retain indefinitely? They are now. I thought you testified yesterday that certain of your Signal chats were set to retain indefinitely and certain were not. Yeah, but then I wanted to make sure that they were all set to retain indefinitely. So is it your testimony that the chats that you mentioned with your friends, not with lawyers and your co-defendants, but chats that you have on Signal with your friends are set to be preserved indefinitely? Yes, it should be. What about your handwritten notes that you've taken in notebooks? Shapiro, objection. Justin, what about them? Gottlieb, did you take any steps to go search through them to find responsive ones to give to your attorneys? I did. I produced them. And those all have been produced to us to the best of your knowledge? Yes. Do you recall about when you instructed your social media team to start posting you only talking about domestic violence in clips? Shapiro, objection. Justin, I don't remember the date. Gottlieb, okay, I will represent to you that this text is from August 8th, 2024 at 3:30 p.m. Okay. And you've written as read, hey, just landed. What is the TikTok strategy? I'd like you guys to start posting me only talking about domestic violence in clips and why this movie is so important. Does that sound like a text you would have written? It does. Do you know why you are sending that instruction at 3:30 p.m. on August 8th, 2024? Because I felt like that's what I wanted. Do you know where you had just landed from? I don't. Do you recall flying around the 8th of August to Chicago with Mr. Heath and Miss Abel and others in New York? I do. Is it possible that you had just landed from the flight from New York to Chicago when you sent this message to your team? Shapiro, objection. Justin, it's entirely possible. Gottlieb, do you recall following up with the team in a conversation about the content that you wanted posted on your social media feeds from this point forward? I don't remember a specific follow-up conversation. Do you recall changing your profile? Shapiro, objection. Justin, I do. Gottlieb, and putting a link to know more in your profile? Shapiro, objection. Justin, yes, I do. Gottlieb, and you don't have any memory as you sit here today about why it was at that moment on the 8th of August that you made the decision to do that? Shapiro, objection. Justin, specifically at that moment? I don't. Gottlieb, why didn't you do that at the start of the press junket? Shapiro, objection. Justin, I think at the start of the press junket, I had extreme anxiety because I was not welcome at my own film premiere. And I think I was in fight or flight. And if I'm honest about some of those things, I don't think I was thinking about PR strategy. I was thinking about survival. Gottlieb, do you recall asking anyone from your team around this time to go through your private DMs to look for messages? Yes. Do you recall asking them to specifically look for messages from survivors? Yes. Do you recall asking them to read and respond to some of those messages on your behalf? Yes. Did that happen? Yes. Does that mean, Mr. Baldoni, that strike that? Do you know if messages were sent from your social media accounts to whoever was sending you messages? I had asked knowmore.org. Specifically, I had asked to employ a survivor who was sensitive to this topic because I was receiving so many messages from survivors who were sharing very personal, deep, traumatic things. Survivors were reaching out to me and saying that they need help leaving their abuser and I didn't feel I was qualified to answer. And I couldn't sleep at night knowing that I might ignore a message from a woman who could die if I don't respond. And one of my goals and missions that you have shown me today is that I did believe this movie, as lofty as it sounds, could save a life. And so I asked no more. We employed a survivor, and her job for weeks was to just go through my DMs and respond to women who needed help. Men who were also sharing their stories and make sure they felt seen and were able to get the help they deserved and needed. I was not qualified for that task. I appreciate all that, Mr. Baldoni. My only question for you is whether you know, in sending those messages, did those responses come from your own social media account? They did, as those responses were in response to things that came, like people were pouring their hearts out to me, Justin. Do you know whether those responses disclose that you were not the ones that was reading and responding to the messages? I don't. Okay. Shapiro, how much time is left? Gottlieb, you don't need to ask. I'm done. Shapiro, good. The videographer, we are going off the record. The time is 7:29 p.m. All right. We are officially done with reading all of Justin Baldoni's deposition.